this is not possible with farmer markets and with farm gate sales. You have to find ways, and you have to find your place on the shelves, to get in the shelves. And the way for this is consumers have to go in the shop and say, and I want this. And they bring back the lousy tomato, the so-called heirloom tomato, say, hey, sorry, this tastes awful.
Yeah.
Keep it, I don't want it.
So very educated, very activist consumers.
And it doesn't need many. Huh? It needs educated consumers that can talk, that are not aggressive, and they just tell it, that's not what we want.
Yeah.
And at least here, people who are in the retail business, they want to sell what people want.
Welcome to the Real Organic Podcast. I'm Linley Dixon, co-director of the Real Organic Project. We're a grassroots, farmer-led movement with an add-on organic food label to distinguish organic crops grown in healthy soils and organic livestock raised on well-managed pasture, all without synthetic fertilizers and toxic chemicals. You just heard from Bernward Geier, a longtime director of IFOAM, the International Federation of Organic Movements. Here we speak about the role that eaters must play in demanding the food that they really want in stores in order to save real organic food from disappearing off the shelves. I caught up with Bernward last week in Germany at Biofach, an all-organic trade show that brings together 35,000 visitors to 2,300 booths that are all promoting organic products. While there, I gave a presentation to policymakers and organic thought leaders entitled The Industrial Takeover of the USDA Organic Label, the Case for Stricter Standards in the United States. You can also hear from Bernward in episodes 65 and 66 of the Real Organic Podcast. And if you'd like to read about my experience at Biofach and our partnership with Naturalland, please visit realorganicproject.com/email to get our weekly letter delivered to your inbox each Sunday. Now on to my conversation with Bernward.
So I just got an email from Elliot Coleman, and he said, how is Biofach? Have the capitalists taken over? What do you think?
Well, I think if I see Elliot here, he would like it because it's very different from the organic fairs like you have in the US, which I know, the expos, because there is still...
he hates the organic fairs
I know.
in the US.
There is still a movement here, and there is still a lot of heart here and passion. But there's also business, and also big business, because organic is a reality also in the big business world, but really quite different. It's the World Exhibition, so you have so many players. There's definitely more farmers than in other business fairs here, because the farm organizations are very present, like your partner organization Naturland is very strong here, and they bring a lot of farmers here. So I think he would not like all what he sees here. He would have probably some hot debates with a few people, but he would find a lot what we all have in our hearts, what we think the organic.
To me, it's so essential what we're doing here, because I don't think we have any trouble teaching people how to grow organically. I mean, I came out of the university system, and they said,
I studied a little bit
organic, it's hard to farm. You have to use the chemicals to succeed, right? The poor farmer. And so they justify the use of the chemicals. That's all academia. Once you do it, you realize there are all these practitioners. But right now what's happening in the United States, the reason why Real Organic Project exists is there's money being put from the government into transition, and then these farmers don't have markets.
This is the same here. We have subsidy programs. I actually don't like subsidies at all, in principle. For farming, for conventional farmers who depend on subsidies as well, a lot. For me, this is nails in the coffin. But I can accept, and I see reasoning in helping farmers to convert to organic, especially in the phase when they really convert and have yield depression, etc. I think it's good, and we have to move, because the market doesn't give the farmers the money that they deserve. We need to move also to pay for service, for environmental services, clean water, clean air, healthy food. So if there is subsidies, then rather for this benefits, where we all benefit, than just for having acres. Like the EU subsidy is for having acres. You have a lot of acres, you have a lot of money, no matter what you do on the field. It's not quite at this. There is now some strings attached and some things have to be delivered, but we have to come to the point in the CAP reform, Common Agricultural Policy Reform, which is due in the EU. We have come to the point that we move away from just giving money for owning land or farming land even, or have farming worked on by workers, to give support and to what they do right, which is of course in ecological farming, organic farming, with all the benefits for the environment.
Yeah, and so in the U.S., it's not just about big agriculture taking away markets. They're actually changing the standards, and that is because they have so much political power. What is different in the EU where they haven't experienced this pressure to lower the standards?
First of all, I have lived 1.5 years in the 70s in the US, and I have already then seen big corp and big global players, the big organizations were already around, the Kraft, the Heinz, the Chiquitas, and so on. Maybe I can illustrate where the difference maybe starts. When I came to the States, I came as a very young 20-year-old, I came into the organic movement. It's 50 years ago. When I came to the States, it was very much a hippie thing. We were a food co-op and we had some organic grain farmers somewhere. And you know it better where most or part of your roots are, or very important part of your roots. But then when I came to the first expos, already early, which was a bit later because I studied and I was traveling in the world, that I would say in the 80s, when I went to the food expos in Philadelphia, wherever, I already realized that even in terminology, everybody talked about the organic industry. That's a phrase that was not known here. We didn't use it. We were an organic movement. We talked about organic farming, and we talked about organic business maybe, but not as an industry. And this concept of industry, I then observed how the big corporates bought one after the other company, often keeping the name, but the ownership was there. And there's this famous study, I don't know, from the University of California, who monitors this, that 9 of the 10 biggest food companies bought organic companies. Knowledge, of course, market access, and of course they have strategic reason to be involved. So you have already very early gone. Another typical example to explain this, here we have a good tradition of businesses set up and they become family businesses. Whereas in America, I simplify, you make a company, you make it big, you sell it, you strike it rich, you retire, you buy a house in Hawaii. That's it. I've seen this quite often. And so that this is maybe one explanation why it's different. But of course we have the challenges here. We are not here on a pink and rosy world. We have also the big business getting involved. But they rather try to adopt and they rather try to get some of the spirit incorporated, like in the retail. By far the biggest is now sold in retails. Now we had this culture of organic shops. When I started in organic movement in the 70s, that was the place you found. You didn't find in supermarkets organic food. It was just 2,000 maybe organic shops at this time. Now we have organic supermarket chains, 100% organic. It's not like Whole Food, who is far away from me from an organic supermarket. Here, I don't know if you've seen some, we have various chains with 100, 120 and more supermarkets, which are 100% organic, consequent. And they look to get organic, not just EU organic, or USDA organic, but from the farm organizations like Naturland, from Bioland. And they like it because the brands have a value here. If people go organic, educated consumers, they want more than just EU organic. They want from farm organizations, the branding Bioland, everybody knows Bioland, everybody knows Naturland, Demeter, let's maybe the Mercedes under the brands. So this is maybe also different to your world. You have never, in my eyes, as I observed the movement, and I've been quite engaged in the US, you have never developed the equivalence of our farm organizations. You never have developed the Naturland. Okay, you have MOFGA, you have your organizations which are farm-based, but not on a national level. You had OTA, which by name, Organic Trade Association. What's probably missing, now it's probably too late to build up. No, you have it now. It's ROP. No, I'm not saying it because you sit here. For me, it's ROP. That's
we
why
did a lot of damage by showing up too late. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not your fault.
Uh-huh.
And the more so, you need all the support, and you see it here. I mean, the hearts fly to you. I mean, we do everything to make it known, to support you in media, and but somewhere, I always was hoping, why don't they have a OFA, Organic Farmer Association, not only Organic Trade Association? And the Organic Trade Association did what they have to do. They looked for the well-being of the trade and the development of the trade. Yeah. In my eyes, they went over the border with allowing all this and taking side of the NOSB. But CCOF, in the early time I thought this is a CCOF, Organic Farmer Association, but it's not. I mean, I know they're part of the problem certifying the hydroponics, etc.
Yeah, and I think that was the missed opportunity, is right now CCOF says, we can't help it, there's nothing we can do. The NOP is the one that accredits us, and so we have to do what they say. That's what they're saying. So it's nobody's fault, right? But we made the mistake of not, you can't go better. No. Everybody has to subscribe.
But that's not true. You have certifiers who said we are not certifying.
Only now.
But you have them at least, but they show at least it's not true. And they with this you can confront CCF. Because it's wrong to claim.
Please join them, right?
Join them. If they do it, you can do it.
Right.
You want to do it?
Right. So we just have to be much more active. And so do you get this criticism of too many labels, you know? So what do you say to that?
Of course. Of course, at the very beginning. I mean, in my early phase, you know, I started to work as IFOAM director 86. That was the time when we moved into supermarkets. So there was a huge debate, let's say, by the hardcore dogmatic. I don't like dogmatism. And I'm known to challenge the movement with joy on dogmas. But there was this dogma, it becomes, it's not anymore organic if it's on a supermarket shelf. Yeah? So organic has to be in a nice little fancy hippish organic shop. I never was on that side. But in this time, the organic supermarkets started organic lines, very successful. So they developed the business more and more. But we still kept our health food shops, and we had this 100% organic supermarket chains. So there was a diversity. And that brings me to the point of the label. We all love diversity. This is in the genes of organic is diversity. And we can have diversity on the market as much as they want. It's a consumer choice, how much they want to study, how much they want to know. But you need one unifying label that it's easy for consumer to see it's organic. And then if I want more than EU organic, we have the EU label, we have the German national label, it's on 80,000 products. That's fine, but if you like Demeter food, you go for the Demeter label. If you like farm-based farm organization brand, you go to Naturland, you go to Bioland. So we have these choices, and it's not an overkill of labels. We can have a lot of labels. We can diversify below, and it's for each label the job to be known and to find the market for what is behind the label. But we need a unifying label. If you just dump the labels like this is disastrous. I have one of the things, I had it for ages on my shelf, a little baby food jar. Gerber is, I think, your company. Yeah. It had 14 labels. Because they didn't know where they get the supply this year, next year, they didn't want to change labels, so they put all the labels that potentially would be certified ingredients in their product. This is a killer for consumers, and this on a little jar. Right. It was just as big, I call it always the fly shit label communication. That's wrong. But if you have, like we have here, this EU label, and even more known here, the German national label, which is backed and supported and co-funded, the promotion of it by the government, then you can have as many labels behind. But of course for the consumer it's confusing. And this is the challenge I think ROP has. You have the story, you have the right products, you have what many people expect when they go shop organic, not knowing what they get, may get. Mm-hmm. So you have it all together. So in a way you could, I see you on the way to it. It's a long way, and it takes a lot of energy and resources, also financial resources. But as you continue to develop and prosper, ROP could become the mark to signal and give the communication to consumers. If you really want organic, something you can really fully trust, which is not compromising, to make it really unorganic, like you have CAFO systems in animal husbandry in organic. Impossible here. Impossible to think about. You started as a project, a real organic project, but I think the time has changed. You are not a project anymore. What describes you much better is what's in IFOAM's acronym, Real Organic Movement. International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements. Our founding fathers in the 70s said we are a movement, we want to be a movement, and we stick, and this is the identity you see still. Elliot Coleman would find it here, that we are, maybe you saw it in the opening session, it was addressed a couple of times, we are still different because underlying we are still a movement. And we have to defend this, including the integrity, which is so much in danger with USDA.
Yeah. Well, and one of the biggest criticisms is don't speak out loud about the problems, talk about them behind closed doors.
Wrong.
Tell me why.
You had it. You had your media exposure, you had your Washington Post stories, the news are out, and I'd rather talk about this myself and say we are working on it with this attitude, but then work on it please, not just blah blah, than having the media jumping on your back and saying, oh, we always knew it, because they then give the consumers the reason, oh, I always knew it, you cannot trust, it's not organic, they cheat me as they cheat with the conventional
we
food.
have to announce that we are here to defend it.
You have to be loud and outspoken on the difference. It's a battle, you have to challenge them. And I give you another observation I have. What happens in the US, people say, oh, it doesn't come to here, we don't get Driscoll berries and we don't get the eggs from the CAFO chicken places or factories, chicken factories I would call them, or the I don't know, is it the Horizon milk from the 5,000 cow farm? I've been a dairy farmer with 60 cows and I thought I have a big farm.
That's too big.
I thought I make too many cows. But what's happening in the US is of course seen in the world. And I know it from my friends, for example, in Australia, who say, hey, we have now the debate starting that they also talk about industry, or that our big players in the sector, they want to go to hydroponics. And they point fingers to the US and say they do it also. Yeah. So that's why we have to defend and help you, that we finally get this out, and the day will come, it has to get out, and we have to build the pressure. That this is not used by others then to spread these practices which have nothing to do with organic farming.
So do they call it hydroponics? Because the big hidden is, it's container growing.
Container growing. They're not so far. I know it only from leading pioneers of the organic movement who are very concerned that this spills over. It's not so much on the CAFO, they have so much space, they have so much free range there. You know the biggest farm in the world? How many certified farm? 1 million hectare, the biggest, and this is in Australia, outbacks. So you need 100 hectares to feed a sheep. So they are in a bit in another world.
And it's a drought.
But on hydroponics or container grown, they, of course they would like to do it. We know why they do it this way. It's cheaper and it gives you much more freedom, but it's definitely not organic. So they're very concerned, and they also said, yeah, please, we have to stay together to defend this, because otherwise it's coming over to our places. So that's another reason that hopefully inspires you and gives you energy. You don't fight just for the integrity of the US organic market. There's more at the stake.
But do you think that we're being loud enough that when the OTA says we don't support hydroponic in organic, do you think that they know behind that we have our own version of hydroponic and it doesn't include container growing? I mean, it is tricky here.
It is tricky. It's very complicated, and this is nothing for a consumer. They will not understand the message.
They want us to get confused in those details.
The storytelling for you is probably much easier on the animal sides, because there the contradictions are much more obvious. Yeah. And for me, it's also, I'm an animal person. Huh? I studied animal production. I wanted to study animal husbandry, but it was named, and what we learned, the subjects were animal production. In a way, honest, but that's not what I wanted to do in farming. I didn't want to produce eggs and milk. That's what we learned, how to produce a lot of eggs and milk. I wanted to learn how I keep my cow to be a happy cow. That gives me a good milk. Yeah. In a second step. So if you are loud enough, I think you cannot be loud enough. It's not screaming. loud could be misunderstood that we have to scream and scandalize. You just say, we have a problem here, and then you can tell your story, especially to media. You can be a bit more complex, and they can see how they bring it across. And you are opposition.
No matter what, you don't stand down.
You are opposition. You are the real opposition project. Also, you oppose the mainstream wrongdoing in farming. So, and this you cannot do quiet. You cannot do it behind the doors. And my experience is consumers honor this. They respect this. If you say we have problems, and you have a better culture than we in America. In America, you make mistakes, you fall, you stand up, fix your ground, and walk. Here, if you fail, you fail. Then you have failed, and that's it. So this may be helpful for you, that you say, yes, we have a problem, we work on it, we fight, join us, help us in our lobbying campaigns, help us with financial support, more so help us buying the real organic products. So ROP is also good, real organic products, just about the name.
Yeah.
You are a movement.
Well, and there's pressure to create change quickly.
Yeah.
So there's pressure for weak standards from the very beginning. Always. And if you have strong standards, we have adopted a whole farm standard, which, believe me, because organic in the US didn't have whole farm, this is turning away 30% of the farms that apply. We have to say, no, you're not whole farm.
Yeah, we have this here. The EU allowed part-time conversion, like you had an organic wine business, you could do organic or conventional and the rest organic. Okay. But this is minimal, this is marginal that this happens. We usually convert the farm, and then once you made a decision, it's a conscious decision, and by heart, hopefully, if you found out spraying is something completely wrong, not good for me, not good for the environment, not good for the customers, that you cannot, it's schizophrenic if you say, but in the afternoon I spray on that field, so that doesn't work.
There's so much pressure to grow quickly though, and real integrity takes time to develop a new label.
Yes, that's the reason why I'm in the slow food movement. I joined the slow food movement because this element of slow, nature can be very fast. I mean, multiplying of cells, when a fetus develops, this is very fast. But when it comes out to working in the field and working with animals, you need time for that. Your cow shouldn't just be a number out of 5,000 cows, which only a computer knows who it is. I always said the limit for keeping cows, my wife is also a dairy farmer, is that I want to know each cow by name and recognize this is Elsa and this is Lisa and this is Jane or whatever. With 60, I was more or less at the point where I said more I cannot recognize. My wife easily can do 100, but then I think it will end somewhere down that line. So what I think the strategy, I'm not telling you how to do it, but out of my experience, how we, for example, lobbied for the EU regulation, was always, we said, here are the from basic standards. Nothing beyond that. Okay. We had to do some compromises, but if you look at the EU regulation, this is the base and the fundament for Naturland, for the other organizations, then they add on, do their things a bit more strict, a bit better ecologically, but this is the minimum base, not behind this. And USDA has not followed that.
Correct, yeah.
If they would have followed the IFOAM basic, it would have not been possible to get your CAFO systems in, have the chicken on balconies, that they have fresh air or so. So this helped us in a way to protect. And now it's too much now, the bureaucracy, it's a nightmare, we created a monster.
Let's talk about that.
It's too detailed.
Is this why there's a rejection of all the paperwork from the farmers, and what can we do about
that? It's not, it's the farmers, it's the inspectors. I live very close to the inspector world. My best friend living with us, we run the farm together, he has become an inspector. And it's so bureaucratic, it's so complex. I mean, the regulation is very thick, then the comment is 600 pages. How a farmer should deal with this.
Yeah, what do we do?
We had an overkill. We have now a move. It was named today by the Vice Minister in the opening of the Biofach. We have a commitment of the politics to make things slim, easier, break down bureaucratic barriers. So the awareness is here, yet the action needs to follow. But we work on it.
somehow it's like easier means less integrity in people's minds. So they make it really hard, and then you have a lot of integrity. And our program, as an add-on, it is so simple, and yet we have like a 30% rejection rate. You just still don't pass, but it's free and it's easy, but we still have integrity. So how do we uncouple that? It has to be difficult to have integrity.
The integrity, I don't think it depends on how complex the system is. That the integrity, that is, you check what you do, and is this in line? And actually the baseline for us is very simple. It's the 4 principles of organic agriculture, developed in a very nice participatory process by the worldwide organic movement. And there you have basically all in it. Of course, then you need to go specific, what it means for a cow, what it means for a pig, what it means on the field, what it means if you use natural pesticides, etc. You need to be more specific. It's not so simple. But if you look at the problem we have with USDA, it's already in conflict with the principles. That is something maybe in your strategy, and you see already how the organic world is ready to stay on your side, but use that and make these references to where this is our roots, these principles. And this was a wonderful process, and it was also very much shaped by farmers. We had in the debate farmers involved, business involved, scientists involved, to come out with these clearly simple small chapter principles, and they're underlying, and you can make a check and balance, and if it doesn't fit the principles, then never it can be in the outline.
Ecology is the big one that's missing.
Another one.
Even fairness.
It's not ecology. I mean, soil. That is where we grow our food.
Yeah. So, if you look to the future of organic in Europe, you don't have these concerns of what happened in the U.S. You feel like the checks and balances
I feel quite
safe.
This is unthinkable for me to have what you have in the dairy sector, what you have in the poultry egg sector, what you have with, call it container or hydroponic grown. That is unthinkable here. I could not imagine. We would have the media so much on our back. We would have the TV scandalizing this a lot.
And that's because the movement has stayed
strong. And we have very alerted consumers. We have also quite good political support, because organic is very connected with the Green Party. We have a very Green Party. We just had all the time, for many years, with Renate Künast's Green Ag Ministers, I imagine. And they are all pro-organic, and they mean organic. They would never allow that this sneaks in. So I feel quite safe on that side. We would have to defend, and this is the question, do we have equivalence between the standards and international?
Let's go there.
Or not?
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be word by word equivalent, but it has to be in the baseline. You cannot have a contradiction or a conflicting development in the direction of the 3 key problems you have in the
So where are we with equivalence right now?
Actually, I strategized with I'm in politics. I've been a co-founder of the Green Party, so I'm very well connected in the Green Party. And I told them, we need to help our American friends and the integrity worldwide for organic farming with the problem from the US by challenge them. The agreement we had, it was actually signed and announced here, and a big thing here.
What year was that?
Oh, don't ask me for years.
Towards the beginning.
Meanwhile, I would say 10 years ago.
Okay.
It was your Deputy Secretary of Agriculture,
Kathleen Merrigan?
Kathleen Merrigan.
Okay,
during her time. During her time. She was here, and there was a big thing here, big media doing, hooray, hooray, we are the same. And there this was not an issue at all, it was not apparent. Yeah. But now it is apparent, and I used my contacts to the European parliamentarians from the Green Party, also organic farmer, the strong guy in the European Parliament from the Green Party is an organic farmer, dairy farmer. Was. When he's a politician, he's not a farmer anymore, but he knows where he comes from. So we have also, this helps us also to, as a safeguard, they would immediately help make political pressure, being in government or not. So and you don't have this equivalence. You have the 2 big parties. They are not so much concerned about, I think, not about organic agriculture. I think about industrial high-tech agriculture, yes. And so, no, I would not expect it, but we have nevertheless also our challenges. And as I mentioned, I'm not a dogmatic person, and I want organic food for all. and I don't want too much discussion in the public confusing consumers that there is bio and that there is super bio and there is super bio. For me, there has to be bio, and this has to be clear, and this has to be based on the principles and reflecting the IFOAM basic standards, which are coming from the movement, from us, from farmers, scientists. And the regulation has to mirror this. And but on the market side, the market development, of course we have a rush. The market is attractive, the market is big. The biggest turnover with organic product is now with the discounter Aldi. I think you have Aldi in the US.
Yes.
He is selling by far the biggest volume of organic. It used to be Rewe, which is a cooperative market, supermarket chain. But because Aldi turned so much with much less products on the shelf in the diversification of the products, but they turn so much because German people especially like to buy cheap food. Yeah? And organic is not necessarily cheap there, and they understand. This is also a sign. They could say, oh, we take it easy, we do EU, bio, we buy it anywhere in the Ukraine, from far away, in China, as long as it is EU, it's fine. And that's what they know the value, and they do actually use it very clever in their marketing strategy, that they partner with Bioland in the case of Lidl, with Naturland in the case of Aldi, that they say, oh, they give the image and they give their consumers the feel, I actually buy the same product, which is true, which I can buy in an organic shop. As long as it has the Naturland label, it's the same quality. It has the same regulation, the same standards behind, rigid certification and inspection and verification program behind.
Yeah.
So this, as long as I can think and talk about organic markets, etc., and this is since the early 80s, I always want that we cannot sacrifice our integrity on the altar of market expansion. I want market expansion, I want to go mainstream, but there is a red line which we cannot step over. And in your case, definitely the red line has been stepped over various times on the critical issues.
Two-story chicken building?
It's so far apart, and it's so easy to understand. If you know little about farming, it's so easy to understand. You cannot have, I have had with organic dairy farm, as I said, we considered it a big farm. The average farm in this time when we had 60 cows, was the average farm size of a dairy farm was 12 cows in the 70s, 80s. So we thought we have a big farm, but you cannot have 5,000 cows if you give them access and grazing, you cannot have it organic. It's impossible. Everybody can understand this.
Even let's say they're following the standard. What role does organic have in, say you have a cooperative of 50 growers that are all producing, and then you say, no, I drop you. These guys are meeting the standard, but we can get it from one supplier.
Of course, the trade wants it easy, wants a constant supply, wants volume. And for us, the challenge is then we have to organize us as a farmer. Yeah, in cooperatives, for example. Good example, let's look at the coffee sector. The biggest organic farmer producer organizations had been coffee cooperatives in Mexico, like Isman, like Usuri, 8,000 farmers, all small, but together they had really volumes. Yeah. And that works. And
it works until what happened with Horizon in Danone. It's more expensive to go to all these individual dairy farms to pick up the milk. So we drop you, we just go to this one place. Right?
Of course, it's so much easier. It's on the cost side, of course, more cost efficient. Yeah. But if you throw out the baby with the bathtub, if you go in this super size, dairy sector is a bit complicated. Let me give another example. I have seen a lot of organic farms around the world. In my privilege, 18 years director of the World Organization, I've seen so many super wonderful farms. And I have seen also a lot of pig farms. The very best pig farm I have seen is in Denmark, with standards above the national organic standards, significantly above. You know how many sows he has? 1,800 sows, raising 30,000 piglets. Integrated production is sows, piglets, all on one farm. It's on different farms. It's one management and one family. It's a family farm, 500 years traditional family farm in that family. it's the best pig. They took them back to forest. They give them a forest. They have mud bath in the forest. It's unbelievable. It works only on sandy soil, so the conditions have to be right. But that impressed me. So it's not a matter of size or volume. That's why I made the comment, what is the biggest organic certified farm, 1 million hectare? You would say, impossible. Yeah. Or 1,000, everybody I tell 1,800,000, impossible, cannot be organic. 30,000 piglets cannot be organic. What makes the difference and what matters is, what do you do? Is that what you do organic? In that case, it's super organic, because it's beyond, it's more than the organic standards. So we should look more, or like the 1 million hectare farm. Right. It is organic. It's so extensive. You cannot be more extensive than you're farming in the desert. Yeah. Carefully, of course, you can overdo it in the desert also.
What is it about the sandy soils? Why does it have to work on sandy soils?
Oh, you know what pigs do on a piece of land? They plow it, huh? Sure. And in order to keep it, it needs that the water is very fast down, that it's not muddy, and etc. And they don't destroy it, and they rotate. They have to rotate also the locations. Okay. And that system in that way would not work. Also in the terms of numbers, they have a lot of space. The south, it's paradise for the piglets. Yeah. It's super. Diversity is back. The birds are back. It's so wonderful. It's poplar trees. That is a bit monoculture, but in a way he has done agroforestry. If you talk, has a lot of potential, of course. We think about farms and potatoes, or trees and potatoes, or cereals, or growing, but the combination in agroforestry with animals, keeping animals, animal husbandry, with forests. You can do it with cows also. But pigs is a good example, because they come from the forest. If you give them the forest back, they are very happy, healthy, and of course, great.
Yeah, so there has to just hold the line on where the standards are. It doesn't necessarily have to do with scale.
This is exactly the point. You bring it to the point. The scale matters. Like in the cow example I gave, I think there is a certain number of cows. When you don't have the personal relationship anymore, you cannot be custodian of the cows. You cannot be the steward of the animals you raise. So I think there's a limit. In the case of pigs, of course, he doesn't know all the sows. But the sows get every day, a person comes, they have personal contact every day when they are fed and looked after, etc. Yeah. So, but definitely it's not a matter of scale, it's what you do. Yeah. And in the US, and I think you can do ROP, your standards, this you can scale up. Right. You can do it in bigger units and then be better on the market, competitive with others, because you produce scale. It's nothing wrong with scaling up if you scale the right thing up, not the wrong thing.
Yeah, and people always say, well, are you going to scale? And I much prefer the concept of replication. Mm-hmm. You know, instead of getting one entity so big, can we replicate?
And then even, like I'm still believing very much in cooperatives, unite. Like on my little farm, we breed animals. We are organic certified farm and breed Icelandic horses. We don't eat them. We have manure. We have more manure because we keep quite a number of animals. We buy organic food in. Mm-hmm. But our manure now goes to a farm which has no animals. Mm. So we think the cycle just bigger with our neighbor. But we're still working fully on the principles and on the stance of organic, having rotation, having a cycle of the straw comes from that farm. He's a grain grower, and he gets his organic matter to have a fertile soil. Also with crop rotation, leguminous plants in the rotation, but he gets it with our manure, which is quite a lot with 80 horses. So in this way we
I've got one for you. This is a tricky one.
Yeah. Okay.
So you have an heirloom tomato, and it has a 2-month season in August and September. And the rest of the year, should there be no heirloom tomatoes? Or what happens is, we say, okay, we'll bring the heirloom tomatoes up from Mexico.
You talk about heirloom?
Heirloom is the big beefsteak, delicious tomatoes. There's a couple questions
heirloom
here.
Is the old varieties.
They taste amazing, and there's a short season for them. In order for them to ship far away, they bruise, all those things, so they pick them green. And then they give them shelf space. Sticker says organic heirloom tomato. People buy them. Oh, this tomato doesn't taste good. Yeah. And so now we've lost our market for...
Because of the imported...
Because people think they don't taste good anymore and they don't know when they're ready.
Yeah.
And so do you think that we should say, it's okay, let's have a crappy heirloom tomato to fill the market, or do we just say no heirloom tomato unless it's a real heirloom tomato and it comes from local because they have thin skin, they get bruised, you have to pick them when they're ripe.
It's a lot of
Only 2 months
communication
out of the
around,
year.
but it's a story.
Yes, yes.
Of course, you have to tell the story of the wrong tomato, which tastes lousy, to the real good tomato. But then I come in with my slow food world. We talk about appropriate seasonal products. Same with strawberries. I'm not eating organic strawberries in April.
I know.
Because they're tasteless. They come from Spain. They are maybe having not seen chemicals, so they can be called organic. But the taste is, and I'm loving so much berries and strawberries. For me, it's when I have strawberries growing in my garden, that is the season. If I don't have enough, I may buy something in that season. The rest of the year I'm not. Also tomatoes. Very rarely, maybe on Christmas, we have a little sin and buy imported tomatoes, but from Spain or so. But no, this is exactly a good example. It's not so tricky, I think.
Well, here's the tricky thing. So because most of the stores say, okay, we have to have organic berries, strawberries. Let's just assume they're soil grown. The businesses have so much power that they say, you have to keep buying from us, even during the season of the local season. So there's no shelf space anymore for the local. That is what is happening.
I understand I understand this problem very much. You see, people have begin to have an understanding of seasonality of fruit. The older people still have the knowledge that there has been a season, but this is very much lost. In berries, it's quite easy. Of course, it's unfair if you have the local berries. Like in Spain, when we have tomatoes, there's no market for the Spain because they're pre and after season. Right. They dump it. It's not even worth to harvest them because they get no price, because then we have all our sun-grown tomatoes in Germany or in Central Europe. And this is crazy. And if you sacrifice taste for the convenience of having a long season of these tomatoes, who do you serve?
But somehow you've been able to protect the German tomato farmers to have a local product. We have not been successful in that.
Yeah.
The example would be the Spanish company has become so powerful. They say, no, you have to buy our tomatoes.
They supply still, they try to sell, and they are on the market, but then I think our tomatoes are competitive.
We don't even get the space.
Yeah, no, this is a bit different here.
How do we make it work?
Consumers have to ask for it, or consumers have to buy direct.
The role of the consumer.
Consumers, consumer cooperatives, or the organic supermarkets, if you would have similar chains. With them, I think you could get an understanding, say, please, when there's a season, they have a preference. Like, I'm very closely connected to the second largest retailer, partner of Naturland, a 10-year partnership, a fair partnership. It works well to the benefit, it's win-win. Rewe had been the biggest seller in volumes and in money terms of organic for a long time before Aldi took over. And they have a preference. Whenever we get Naturland quality for their own brand, they have their own brand, 70% of the products in a supermarket are own brands, are not brands of other brands. It's much different to conventional market. Yeah. The ratio is very different. So it's typical for organic that much goes into own brands. But they say if we can get it in organic, in Naturland quality above EU standards, we opt for the Naturland quality. So they build up a quality image. So if you go to Rewe, it can be very likely, especially in fresh produce and dairy, you're gonna get not just bio, organic, you get Naturland.
Okay.
Or now Demeter.
Yeah.
Demeter came in, a bit tougher, but they sell now also Demeter.
Somehow we have this ever-creeping consolidation, and then with that consolidation becomes so much power. Right now we have Albertsons want to merge with Kroger, so they say we're competing with Walmart.
Yes.
Right? But Albertsons and Kroger are the one that put all our co-ops out of business,
right? This is
right?
capitalism at its worst.
Right.
It's grow or perish. Yeah. It's grow or perish in farming, it's grow or perish in the business, in the retail, it's grow or perish. But this is, it's a question, when we debate this, we often ask us, and I'm a leftist, I've never been a communist, and when it became a system or in power, it became corrupt. But we say, or we ask us, can you do the right thing in the wrong system? And I think this is your challenge. You do the right thing, no doubt, But the market and the reality of capitalistic market, how it works today, of concentration, of taking overs, of being super efficient, of being super in the cost side, super cheap to produce or to bring it to the shelf. How much space do you have for your product, for your real organic product in that world? So one alternative is it's a parallel process. It's never either or. It's as well, and you do it with a lot of your farmers sell direct. You have a very wonderful culture of farmer markets. There you have been ahead of us. We're coming up. We learn from you also. We have wonderful 100% organic farmer markets now, more and more. But you have this tradition. So you have to build this up more and more, because that's the place where you can tell the stories. You make nice in the summer, you make nice open days. You know all this, you have it.
Right.
And that's wonderful. So, but
it only
you want
works
to grow
so far because
because it's small.
Everybody goes to the grocery store every day.
It doesn't make sense if I'm in Manhattan, downtown Manhattan, to drive out 40 miles to my nice little farm in the countryside.
Or the farmer to drive 40 miles.
Or the farmer drive. It's a bit more efficient than all the customers coming out to his place. So it's not the solution for all. And your challenge now is, of course, because you're ready to scale up and you see the interest, and there is a need, there's hopefully even a cry for the right organic or real organic products and quality which you offer. But a jump, I don't know if you jump from the niche market to mainstream market, but we have this challenge as we go, definitely from niche to mainstream market. In the volumes we turn now. Baby food has been 20 years ago already 80% organic. It's now 100% organic. You cannot sell baby food that's not organic. So we are on that way. We have this experience, but this is not possible with farmer markets and with farm gate sales. You have to find ways, and you have to find your place on the shelves, to get in the shelves. And the way for this is consumers have to go in the shop and say, and I want this. And they bring back the lousy tomato, the so-called heirloom tomato, say, hey, sorry, this tastes awful.
Yeah.
Keep it, I don't want it.
So very educated, very activist consumers.
And it doesn't need many. It needs educated consumers that can talk, that are not aggressive, and they just tell it, that's not what we want. And at least here, people who are in the retail business, they want to sell what people want.
And the Farmer Association to back the consumer.
They don't want, and of course they want cheap, they want to have their margin, they get the bigger share. We can argue that, or maybe not argue, it's obvious. But if a consumer, we say the consumer is king. So then use your power, king and queen, use your power. Show you're the king, tell them what you want. And you say this is what you bring here. You may call it, it may look like heirloom, but that's not. So I don't want that, and then of course you don't buy it, and say, but please give me the alternative to get the real heirloom tomatoes when it's the season, when they taste good.
And it's chicken and egg, because the consumer can't demand for anything because the farmer doesn't grow more in order to supply the wholesaler because they didn't have the shelf space. So
I know, it is a bit of chicken and egg, but we do have chicken, we do have eggs.
Yes,
so they belong together. So it's not a contradiction between chicken and egg. I see it's the synergy. Without eggs, we have no chicken. With chicken, we have no eggs. So in that case, yes, we try to find our markets direct and in very fitting market channels like the farm markets. But the shelves. I have a friend who produced a wonderful organic farmer in Nova Scotia. Actually, he immigrated from Germany. We studied together. And he was such a super vegetable grower. And he managed, the farmer, he had a supermarket, a weekly market in Halifax. Did half of his turnover just on this one Saturday market. But he had more and more supermarkets where he said, try my products, gave consumers a taste, a flavor. And the people who bought on Saturday in the market realized, oh, I can buy Wednesday my farmer's products in my supermarket. And he had two avenues of marketing then. He had the supermarkets during the week to sell, and then the people came also for the fun of going to a market, and of course all the joy that comes with shopping there. And that is a good example, I think. He didn't say, I put all my eggs in this one basket that I sell it on the market. I diversify. Again, it's diversification, as you say.
Yeah. And so if you look, let's give a ton of hope. 100% organic. You see that path. You think it's working in some places. And when you look to the future, you see only growth.
Well, organic. Of course.
Yeah?
Okay, now here we are. I love it because I work a lot on it. And I must say, I'm an optimist. If it's not us who are optimists, us people who work with nature, who respect nature, who love nature, who should be optimists? So this is for me not a question. It's getting more difficult to be optimist, I admit, but I'm not giving up. So this is my starting point. But I did a lot of fact-finding research in my privileged life to be out in the world. I came across, and this is really rapidly growing, and a lot of places where we have people at least on the way to 100%, having the commitment to 100% or have achieved it. And the first big example, which we then recognized with the IFOAM Organics International and Rapunzel Award, the One World Award, was the federal state of Sikkim in India. It's a small state, it's your Rhode Island of India, you could say. There a visionary governor or chief minister said, let's go the organic way 100%. He got the farmer on his side, but he resourced them, he educated them, he trained them in compost mating, in vermicompost, etc. He helped to create markets, and they became the first state in the world, the first political structure that was 100% organic. So they said, yes, this can be done. Okay, it was on a small scale, of course you cannot easily scale it up, but if you look at India, there is at the moment millions of farmers going organic. Millions of farmers. And many have made the commitment, we want to follow the way of Sikkim. Then my friend Hilmi Abulay Sikkim in Egypt. They are a super fantastic project, Demeter. He's on the journey to 100% organic. And I'm sure he will get there. I work now in the Philippines with a mayor who created peace in a war-torn area, rebels, Islamic rebels. He got 14 commanders out of the jungle with 5,000 rebels, and they became organic farmers. Now this municipality of Kauswagan with 13 barangays, villages, 100% organic. Their mayors can rule. He banned GMO. It's illegal. You may go to jail if you introduce GMO in the municipality. People are fully behind. They reduced poverty. Poverty was the reason for the conflict, not Muslim, Christian, and hunger.
Usually, yeah.
From 80% poverty level in Philippines, we would starve to death in what they define poor and poverty, to meanwhile just 9%, and he works on the last few percent. So wherever I look, there is these examples. We have regions in Switzerland, a canton, that is a bit between a state and a county, 60% in Graubünden. Salzburg, Austria, a state, a federal state of 50%. We have a lot of places. Austria as a country has reached 30%. And that is a country.
The story is that there were more imports in order to, like, they weren't feeding themselves.
No, this is very much development. When we talk
story.
about this percentage of organic farming, we talk about this. And this is the big issue. And I can't even understand America in this regard. I think you have 1% of your farming organic, but you have the biggest market in the world. Yeah. Hello? Something is wrong. So it's Mexico, Canada.
Now it's Peru for
all over the world. Chile, the berries come.
We are importing 60% of our fruits and vegetables now.
Also the grain, where you had the scandals for the cover systems that came from Ukraine and on the way to the US became organic. Yeah, so it has to come this way. You have to convert organic farming on the way to 100%, and then you develop the markets parallel. It's not that you create the market like you do in the US, huge, successful, but where are the products, and then you have to bring them from all over the world. That is the wrong strategy.
Because you go where it's cheapest. So for cotton, we had all of these organic cotton growers, and then they went to where the environmental standards were so low that they could just, all the dyes and the cleaning of the cotton just went into the river.
Well, the cotton
or
production,
where the labor is cheaper.
The organic cotton production in India, number one producing organic cotton country, had a lot of issues with GMO. Because it was the Monsanto GMO cotton. Tanzania picked up. There is, talking about 100% vision, there is 2-3 states or regional districts in Tanzania where there's cotton growing. There are 400,000 organic certified, EU standard organic certified farmers. So we can go big, and it's more and more happening in the world. And to the rationale behind this, for me, 100%, it has to be step by step. And the first strategic step is we have to come to the point that pesticides become illegal. Yes. We have to ban pesticides. That is easier sell to consumers. Who is against stopping pesticides? You get easier people on board. And then we have a more level playing field. Then it's actually easier. Then the step to organic is shorter, and it's a more level playing field. Then you can develop 100%. So that would be a strategic step to come to. And we have been come close. We had a public poll in Switzerland, which just barely missed it, to ban pesticides 100%. We have the EU, which said 50% reduction of pesticides. Can you imagine the Bayers and Monsantos, now Bayer Monsanto is one, how alerted they are if this happens? So this is a strategic step. But then at the same time we have to do much more for organic farming. So setting goals, realistic goals, step by step, realistic goals, ambitious goals. Now we have 25% in the EU. I imagine this in the US, we have 1%. Setting a policy and as a target for the whole EU to come to 25% organic by the year 30. This is in 6 years, in 5 years now.
And this subsidizes certification so that it doesn't cost farmers?
Yeah, if you have more certification, it can become more cost efficient. In the global south, we have developed with IFOAM the internal control system. I've been in banana cooperatives and chocolate cooperatives that brought the certification for each farmer down from $400, $500, $600 to $7 a farm with the internal control system, peer review. Yeah. Then we have, for the local markets, we have the participatory guarantee system. So the organic movement and IFOAM namely have done a lot to make for small farmers the place. Yeah. And you have, of course, PGS, it's also in the US, it's in Australia, it's New Zealand, it's all over. It's not just for the global south. So this is one thing. So you have to set the goals. Of course, then there has to be the means. This is, if you in the politics say, I want this, then you have to you put the money in that this can happen. You have to support it. It has its own dynamic. It can grow by demand and market, but it needs support. And we have good examples here. Huh? The government does a lot, big programs to promote. We heard it today in the opening. Huh? Big programs to promote. So if that comes together, then we can advance. We may not get the 30% in 6 years, but if it's 27%, I'm still happy because we're on the right road.
That's a lot better
now,
than
to
we're
my
doing.
100% vision, to conclude that, for me, this is not a question whether we can or whether we should. I think we have no choice. If we don't come to a system to produce our food sustainable, and for me, a very early phrase I coined in IFOAM was, organic agriculture is sustainability put into practice. You could say it's sustainability put into the field and in the animal farms. So it's not a choice. So we have to go with common sense, and the damage we do, be it biodiversity crisis, be it climate crisis, everything points out that the conventional way is wrong and brings us further into disaster. And we have the answers, so we have to scale up the answers. And that's why for me 100% vision is not just a crazy idea, it's not weird, it's the thing to do. Yeah. And then the motto, your famous motto from Obama, yes we can. Here we say today at Biofach this year, yes we do.
Yes.
We do.
Yeah.
We want it, we
live
do.
it. Yep. Well,
So
thank you.
This brings my optimism, this feeds my optimism. And I see it's happening. I see it more and more it's happening. Countries in the global south are probably faster than we, because they realize there's nothing in GMO for them. Look at the complete failure of Bill Gates and Rockefeller's Green Africa, a new green revolution, a complete failure. What they try to do with GMO and chemical inputs failed completely.
It's not still going on?
No, it cannot. It cannot be successful.
Oh, I thought that they were still getting...
Yeah, they
still
made their own report showed that it was a disaster. That was a complete failure. Not much talked about the report, but it shows us that at the end it's not a matter of choice. It's either organic. Our famous organic pioneer hero, Felix, has pointed it out. It's either organic or it's not. The future of our food.
Yeah. Or no food.
That's the job we have to do.
Yeah.
The good thing is it's fun to do it.
Thank you for the hope.
My life, 50 years in organic, so much joy, so many positive things, so many beautiful people, and so much enlightenment, and so much motivation, so much energy.
Keep that movement
Team
alive.
up with your farmers that do the right things. Help them, support them. That makes you happy,
Yeah.
and your farmer.
Yeah,
You
do it
could say,
together.
you have your farmer is happy, then you are happy.
Yeah.
You cannot be happy if your farmer goes bankrupt because he has unfair competition.
You got to keep igniting the movement. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Good. Thank you so much for your time. It's good. Good hope.
Thank you for listening to the Real Organic Podcast. Our movement is growing because you're subscribing and sharing these podcasts with your friends. So keep it up and leave us a rating and a review as well so that others can find us. You can find a video version of this interview on our newly designed website, realorganicproject.org, or on our YouTube channel. And you can join us every Thursday for a new episode featuring voices from the organic movement. See you next time.